Hello everybody, welcome to our podcast, Gita, a mantra for success. Hello everybody, we are back with the second episode of Perima's Gita and we will cover the second chapter of Gita. We are not doing justice to this chapter by covering this whole chapter, the second chapter in like about 10-12 minutes. But what we are planning to do is, we are going to summarize this whole chapter into like 6 key points from Perima's interpretation, which we loved and which we think will be relevant to everybody's lives.
Yes,
all right?
Perfect.
So let me start with point 1, which is the basic concept of the Samkhya philosophy.
Okay.
It is actually an ancient Indian philosophy and it teaches about the dualism of matter and the soul. It is a complex topic, so let's try to break it down. So basically, Samkhya philosophy regards the universe as consisting of 2 independent realities. Purusha or Atman, or as we put it in English, consciousness, or Prakriti, which is matter. So when we are born, this consciousness or Purusha is bonded to matter or Prakriti in some form. That's where the connection is formed. They're 2 separate entities, but when you're born, there is a connection made.
Okay.
So now what is Prakriti? Prakriti consists of all the elements. So senses, feelings, activities, mind, and so on. So these different combinations of matter create a sort of bondage, particularly in our mind. Because mind is the most powerful and our mind accepts whatever we are sensing or feeling and it informs our intellect. Thereby we form opinions and things.
Oh wow, so basically mind is the boss.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. So mind is the boss, mindset, and that process affects our consciousness. But consciousness or Purusha or Atman actually is an independent principle which pervades the body and makes the body alive. Okay? It is not limited by the boundaries of the body. So it is all encompassing like space, but we as humans, we forget it because we are too attached to the matter, which is Prakriti. So Krishna pretty much explains the essence of Atman, or again what we call consciousness. He basically suggests that this soul or Atman continues to exist even after the death of the material body, just the physical body. Okay, Krishna explains the characteristics of Atma. Nitya, which is everlasting. One is Satya, which is truth.
The truth.
Akartha, which is non-doer. Abhokta, which is non-enjoyer. The other one is Sarvagata, all-pervading. Nirvikara, does not undergo any change, meaning it is fixed and does not change. The last one is Aprameya, not an object that is perceived by sense organs, because sense organs can perceive only material things. So this is even about that.
Okay, so boy, that's so Atman is God that is within us, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So now let me go to point number 2. I'm going to talk about self-realization. Okay. The person who has gained this realized knowledge is someone who accepts this duality of life as you just explained.
Purusha and Prakriti. Yeah.
And when you accept that nothing is permanent, accept your soul or Atman, and truly understand the characteristics of Atman as you just explained, then that realization is called self-realization.
Makes sense.
And that knowledge is called realized knowledge.
That makes sense. Perfect. That is self-realization. So that's point 2. So let me continue and jump to point 3. Sattvic Buddhi or intellect. Before I go into a little more into that, let me just break it down. Bhagavad Gita has 3 yogic philosophies. The first one is philosophy which is knowledge-based, which is Jnana Yoga or Jnana Yoga. The second philosophy is action-based, which we have discussed in great detail, called Karma Yoga. And the third is devotion-based, which is Bhakti Yoga.
Okay.
Right? So Jnana Yoga is the pursuit of self-knowledge and knowing one's true self. So what you just mentioned about self-realization and knowledge about yourself, all that comes under Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga, that we've talked in great detail in the previous podcast, but it's basically taking action but not expecting results and not having, right over the results.
Yeah.
Sattvic Buddhi is something that helps us choose the right action. One can differentiate between what is to be done and what is to be avoided. And Sattvic Buddhi or intellect helps you know how to react. Sattvic Buddhi helps us control our emotions. So in summary, Sattvic Buddhi is finding peace or happiness internally and not being affected by external factors.
Yeah, I mean, not taking action because the situation is not what we expect is called inaction, right?
You're right.
And Krishna talks about it in detail. And what Krishna is saying here is, sorry, you are not in control of the outcome.
Correct.
And just because the outcome is something that you do not desire does not mean you can quit.
Exactly.
So, he's pretty much saying find the solution. And that is pretty much the premise of Gita, especially the chapter 2.
Perfect. So that was, again, point 3.
So now let me move on to point number 4.
Great.
It's about interpretation, how we can interpret. So the same result might have 2 different interpretations.
All right.
For example, for those with realized knowledge, they also face rejections or adversities in life.
Makes sense.
But they just accept it because they know these are all part of life. They are not too attached to that situation. They would rather spend time on something better. For example, speaking with like-minded people or reading or gaining knowledge. I would call it professional development, personal development, or as Perima suggests, surrendering to God or meditation. Basically something productive than complaining, whining, and crying.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Just because the situation is something that is not desirable, right? So in short, that is karma yoga. Take action. Don't worry about the outcome. Keep going and do not quit.
Makes sense. And don't whine and cry. Let me move on to point 5. Here we're going to talk about desire. According to Krishna, sensation is the root cause of desire, which causes suffering. Can we easily let go of desire? Not likely, right?
No.
Desire is actually linked to being like a virus, right? Or addiction.
It's addiction.
We have to keep practicing to let go of desire.
Absolutely.
Right? And that comes with calming your mind or meditation. So Krishna basically says that when we submerge our mind in meditation, we learn to withdraw from the sensory confusion of the world. Then we can let go of desire. It sounds pretty simple, but it is pretty difficult for most of us. Krishna also suggests that we must have self-control and self-discipline to achieve this state of mind. You cannot just get up today and say, okay, from today I'm going to spend 2 hours meditating and I'm going to let go of all desire.
No, it's not going to happen.
Right? It takes years and years of practice. Now, I'm going to let you explain what it means by maintaining equanimity, because I know you have a famous Nepali saying that you have mentioned umpty number of times, and you do a much better job. So
yeah, sure. So, yeah, of course. I love this quote. This is a Nepali quote. Dukhama atinu hunna, sukhama matinu hunna. Which means whenever you are dealing with adversity or failure in life, dukkha, you should not panic. And sukha is, when things are going fine in life, absolutely fine, then you should not show off. Because, we are too obsessed with showing off, right? Like we have this, we have that. More like getting validation from the external world, But what happens is when we seek external validation, we lose our internal focus.
That makes sense.
When I have no attachment with my success, then I won't have any attachment with my failure as well. Right? So basically at one point we accept that failure and success as part of life. Ups and downs are part of life. Happy times and sad times are all part of life. And we just accept every outcome. And with time, we just learn to control our desire, because there's no desire for only good times. Only good things happen because you are accepting everything.
Makes perfect sense. Now going on and moving on to point number 6. Here Krishna speaks about duty. Krishna insists that Arjuna's duty in this life is that of a warrior. He's in the battlefield and his duty is to fight as a warrior. Therefore, Arjuna must live to his highest potential by fulfilling this duty. So that highest potential is very important. whatever duty you have as a husband, as a son, as a friend, a leader, whatever your roles or, your duty is, ask yourself, have I given my best? Is that the best I could have given to that role? That is pretty important.
Yeah. And we are all born with several roles.
Right. And each role, introspect and see, have you done your best? Lastly, all of us should do 3 things before we can get the solution for our seeming problems in interacting with this world.
Okay.
Right? One is problem identification, samsara darshanam. The other one is helplessness identification, karpana bhava. And the third one is seeking help unconditionally from a capable source, sort of sarangati.
Seeking external help from a capable person is very important. Many times we actually hesitate to ask for help.
Right.
And that is wrong. We should ask for help. Because living with the problem, we could be deluded and may not have the right disposition to find the solution.
Yeah, right? Frame of mind. Yeah, makes sense.
So that is what is referred to as approaching help, and Krishna talks about it. And here also Arjuna is seeking Krishna's help, and that's when Krishna becomes the guru. So Gita keeps talking about you approach a guru for knowledge, guru or mentor, or even reading books. Even reading Bhagavad Gita,
self-help books,
all these
like
things,
that,
right? So that's what Krishna is promoting here. In the last part of this chapter 2, Krishna introduces karma yoga with 3 aspects. Choosing the right action, Sattvic Buddhi. Once you choose the right action, then dedicate everything, you give 100% all to that action, which is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. And then the third part of karma yoga is accepting any type of result as a gift, which is Prasaada Buddhi. So
Makes sense. So there's Buddhi, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasaada Buddhi. Makes sense. Choose the right action and dedicate yourself to the action and accept the result that comes based on the action because you've already chosen the right action.
Exactly. Buddhi, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasaada Buddhi.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all we have for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next podcast. Thank you.